Well, hello again. I'm here again with Rob, just continuing our conversation. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Rob, hello. Nice to see you again, Peter. How are you today?
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I'm aware if you go the good old Section 21 route, which an awful lot of people do, even for rent arrears, on the basis that the accelerated procedure is so much easier to use. That's not true at the moment, is it? So it's a bit of a nightmare.
Well, no, not really. A few weeks ago now, actually back in April, the courts changed the form for the so-called accelerated application. Once upon a time, the paperwork you filed in the accelerated application was like, so thick. Now you've got to put in every single tenancy agreement, every single gas safety certificate. And if there is some paperwork missing, you'll get thrown out. So before you rush in to do an accelerated application, download the form from the court service or come see us, come and see your own solicitor, and know what forms you're going to have to file when you put that accelerated application in. Now, you can always go for a Section 21 possession order, the old-fashioned route, where you have a hearing, but of course, as the name implies, that's not going to be accelerated because you are waiting for a hearing date. And I think you know what's going to come next. Courts were struggling to give us hearings 3 months ago before we got into this mess. Well, we've had no courts dealing with possession action now for about 8 or 9 weeks. Can you imagine what the delay on hearings is going to be when we get to June and the whole court moratorium on possession proceedings is finally reviewed? I just don't know. I'm saying to landlords now, in all honesty, if you issue proceedings in June, you'll be lucky to see your property by the end of the year. I mean, it's literally going to be that bad.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. So, no, it is a difficult situation. And then this, the delaying of the courts. This is something called PD 51, wasn't it? Which is
yeah, Practice Direction 51. It's where, again, so the bods in Westminster, in the courts up there, say, right, we're having a total moratorium on possession proceedings. Now, again, this is a bit of a political decision because they didn't want people forced out of their property. So from basically the latter part of March until God knows when, there are no possession proceedings. Now, what that doesn't mean is you can't issue a claim. If you have got a claim because your existing Section 8 or existing Section 1 has already expired, you can still fill in the paperwork, lodge it with the court. The court will process it, they'll give you a claim number, and then they'll say, we're going to adjourn your case, we'll come back at the end of the lockdown and tell you what's going to happen next. Now, you might say, well, why on earth do you want to do that now? Why not just wait until the lockdown ends in June or whatever it may be? Well, as I've hinted, one of the reasons is going to be the delay. If you issue now, you may not be at the head of the queue when they start giving out hearing dates, but you'll be pretty near the top, I would hope. Because I suspect come the end of the lockdown, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I think the court's going to be inundated with people filing applications, filing claims to get their properties back. And it's going to be, should we just say it's going to be difficult.
Well, I've noticed that the Section 21, which is now a 3-month notice rather than a 2-month notice, but you still only got the 6 month time barrier, haven't you? So you must absolutely use it within the 6 months.
Yeah, they haven't changed the basic rules of the game. We had this since the Regulation Act 2015. You have got 6 months from the day you actually issue your Section 21 to file your court proceedings. So if you think about it logically, let's suppose you issued your Section 8 at the end of November, all right? You've got December, January, February, March, April, and May to actually get those papers into the court. Now, if you don't, then that Section 21 notice from the end of November is time barred. You've got to start all over again. And of course, you start all over again in this period. It's not a 2-month notice. It's now a 3-month notice. And this 3-month notice thing will continue all the way up to the end of September. So, we might get to October and it might then drop down to 2 months, but we don't know.
Yeah.
So you've got Section 21s, check them, see when they expire, and if needs be, get proceedings issued. Now, just bear in mind with a Section 8, it's slightly different. Your Section 8 is good for 12 months after you serve it. So if by any chance you had an arrears problem last summer, say, and let's suppose the town paid off the arrears last summer, you might have just filed that Section 8 and forgotten about it. Well, here we are in May. If you now have another arrears problem, don't serve another Section 8. It's 3 months. You've already got a valid Section 8 from last summer. Pull it out, dust it off, and can we use that to get proceedings issued and get us in the queue for when the lockdown comes to an end.
Well, a very good bit of advice, that one. So worth having this chat just for that alone. Because, nobody knows what's going to happen to Section 21 in the future anyway, do they? So, as you say, you just got to play it day by day and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Section 21s are up for grabs. I mean, the government has said we don't like them. They are going to go. When they're going to go, we just don't know. But there'll be something similar, I would imagine, to help get the properties back for landlords who really do have to sell. And one of the things you mustn't forget is an awful lot of money has been loaned by commercial institutions on the back of an AST. And those institutions know they can get their property back if they need to. Well, there'll be a lot of pressure, I expect, from city institutions to have something similar to a Section 20, perhaps a bit more constrained, but something similar. It won't just be scrapped overnight.
Yeah, because what we recommended to government, I don't know if it's ignored or not, probably was, but we recommended a varying time. So if the tenants have been in the property 6 months, then it was a 2-month notice. If they've been there a year, 3-month notice. If they've been there 5 years, 9 months, just make it longer and longer.
Yeah, that is a really sensible compromise. But I have to say, Peter, I'm not sure government is too sensible these days. The problem we've got is housing ministers come and go at a rate of knots, and I'm not sure anybody in the Ministry of Housing, as we now call the Ministry of Housing, has ever been a letting agent, ever been a landlord.
No. Well, the current housing minister doesn't have any background in lettings whatsoever. I don't think the housing secretary does either. At least we've had the housing secretary for a couple of years.
True.
Which must be a bit of a miracle so far. Right, that's all good stuff, Rob. So good to see you. Bye for now.
Cheerio and stay safe.